Hola, ¿cómo estás? Es Linda. Sorry, so my video just got cut off on there. I probably have to edit it. I'm gonna have to go back. Good morning. I just wanted to start off the day with my video for YouTube, and I'll be getting on podcasts. I'm starting a podcast as well on my spiritual journey. And I've gotten up already and cleared my chakras, which are my power wheels, so they're not blocked for the day, so I don't have any disease, I don't have any stress or any lower vibrations, and that's how I like to start my day. While I'm listening to those frequencies, open my chakras to be disease-free and stress-free and anxiety and fear-free. I meditate, so I'll do my nam ya renge ya, nam ya renge ya, nam ya renge ya. Of course, I started with my silent prayer, and then my 2 chapters, Expedient Means, chapter 2, chapter 16, the lifespan of the thus come one, which is the Buddha appearing into the world. And those are 2 chapters in the Lotus Sutra that I recite out loud after my silent prayer. And then I go into my mantra, which is devoting my life to the mystic law of cause and effect, aka karma, using my voice and vibrations, which is thoughts, feelings, heart, everything that goes into it, the light language, right? So it's nam myoho renge kyo, devoting my life to the mystic law of cause and effect, karma, using my vibrations. Nam ya renge ya, nam ya renge ya, nam ya renge ya, nam ya renge ya. And so every time I meditate that, I chant that, I'm putting it out into the ethers in order to align my realities, to align my mind, body, and spirit, which is also how I combated bipolar disorder, right? In the system, I was able to align my own mind and my reality with no medications, with no exterior outer treatments or pills or therapy. Meditation is your therapy. Meditation is the best medication there is for anything. I'm talking about it clears your chakras. You don't even need the frequencies outside of yourself, but I do that in order for like an atmospheric kind of like music kind of tuning, if you will. But I don't need that either. The whole meditation, you meditate and you focus on your breathing. So the breathing and holding it in and making sure you're holding your diaphragm and releasing it as you're, going through your chakras. Because you have 7 chakras. You have your crown chakra, which is the coronavirus activating our crown chakra. Then we've got, which attaches us to the etheric realm, right? So we can get our messages and awakenings. And then you have your pineal gland chakra, your throat chakra, your heart chakra, your solar plexus chakra, where a lot of people have a lot of blockage. I had to open mine and my heart from past life traumas for the heart, but the diaphragm especially for the liver, the kidney, and all these other things, right, going on in your tummy. And so when you have blockages, colon cancer, all these things like cancers, diseases, diabetes, that means you're blocked up. On top of like, of course, if it's genetics or if, you're doing extracurricular activities like drugs and stuff like that, then of course it's going to block it up as well. But, typically when you meditate, you're focusing on your breathing. And so thus your chakras become open because you're focusing on breathing. A lot of times when we have blockages, it's because we're not even breathing. That's why sometimes most people are like, that aren't even in a meditation, they'll go smoke a cigarette, right? Your body is telling you, your higher self is telling you to go breathe. But your lower self is having you think that you need a habit in order to go breathe, right? You need to get away. I need to go smoke a cigarette. But really your higher self is saying, go away, go step away and breathe, right? And so when you breathe, you're breathing in the light, the love, holding it in order to get an activation in the power from the ethers in your crown chakra, and then releasing the disease, the density, the low frequencies, the anxiety, the worry, the fear, breathing in light, holding it. See, and you kind of get that fuzzy feeling because you're getting that oxygen to the brain. Most people are like, oh, you're passing out because you're holding your breath. No, that oxygen, when you're holding it, that oxygen is going up into your brain, okay? Because usually when you yawn, it's lack of oxygen, right? So when you're lacking oxygen, you're yawning. Usually before you like do the exhale, you're breathing in. And that breathing in before the exhale, right, is the oxygen going to the brain because you yawned, because you were lacking oxygen in the brain. So when you're breathing in, it's not making you lightheaded, because most people that don't understand, they're like, oh, yeah, you feel different because you're getting lightheaded. No, not necessarily. You're getting the brain oxygen, right? Because we need that. And you don't get that. So you don't fire up those neurons. You're not firing up your brain cells. So they fall asleep, they deaden, they're not being stimulated. You have to breathe, you have to stimulate them, you have to do different things. That's why when I meditate, I be walking too. I'll go a lot on my walks through the community in order to spread the vibration, because vibrations are contagious. Just as much as you can have bad body language without saying anything, right? You can make a person leave the room if your body language and your vibrations and your energy is that bad. You know what I'm saying? It happens. And so I like to walk through the community with my saging energy, and I'll meditate and give light, give love, be smiling with no face mask, and just spread the light, spread the love, doing my Christ walk. And so then in doing that, like, I'm able to meditate and be meditative. And, like, I was visiting my girlfriend last night, and she, was buffing her car. And that's kind of her meditative thing. When you're doing that, you can meditate. You can multitask when you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? If you're coloring, meditate. It's putting your vibrations out there, right? Sometimes when you're focusing on what you're doing, like waxing a car or coloring or walking, that's already meditative, but it even takes it even a depth further when you're chanting doing it, because then you're subconsciously aligning with the law of rhythm when you're chanting. And then you're also clearing your chakras. And then you're also focusing on your breathing. And then it does all these culmination of things that medicines can't do, that therapy, speaking to another person, can't do. It's all the things of going within yourself. Like, it's literally delving within yourself. When you're doing something, that's the important thing in law of attraction and like awakening to a new you and reprogramming yourself, which is why I listen to frequencies in the background that are positive, because they're positive affirmations. You have to do those three things that I was saying in order to attract law of abundance, to be at peace, or law of attraction and abundance, and like reprogramming yourself, right? Because you have to be able to think, speak, and do differently. In order to think differently, you have to reprogram your subconscious, okay? In ways that, you know what I mean, like that reach your subconscious, okay? So it's not just telling yourself, today I'm going to do this. Because a to-do list doesn't reach your subconscious. Subconscious is when you're playing something in the background, or something is being said to you subliminally and you can't hear it. It's like all the things that you can't hear, but your subconscious is picking it up, okay? Because it's in the background. Subconscious always picks up things in the background. It's like you're picking up a lot more when you're driving down the road. Your senses, your consciousness and your subconsciousness is picking up sight, like colors, sounds, smells, things that you're not even consciously thinking of. And then you go to sleep, and guess what? You download all that stuff from your subconscious. And so literally, this is why I listen to frequencies and recordings of positive affirmations in the backgrounds of things, because then my subconscious picks it up, and then it happens like that. And then if have your chakras cleared, and it's really quick, right? So a lot of people, I'll be reading the comments on the subliminals, and they're like, oh my gosh, I listened to this and it really does work. And so you listen to people's, testimonies, and then they're like, oh, it worked for me within like a month or 6 months, and then so I've been doing mine where I meditate, right? And people be like, you're obsessed. And I'm like, I'll gladly take obsessed with meditation, because that means I'm obsessed with my self-love. That means I'm obsessed with my focus. I'm obsessed with who I am. I'm obsessed to have self-love. I'm obsessed with loyalty. I'm obsessed with faithfulness. And I'm obsessed with the other, saying that it's all the good things. That means that I'm very focused and disciplining myself. So I'm okay with that. And so that's what I've done. I've taken this time in order to reprogram myself, right? And so that's what I focused on more than a job. I literally took wanting a job, needing a job, wanting money, needing money out of my realm. I took it out of my constellation. It's out of my world. It's not even in my universe. Those thoughts aren't even in my universe. I took them out, and my main focus is being of service to people, completing my purpose, which is to be of service, and then to love, to be kind, and to be cooperative. And those are my main focuses right now. When you're being of service to people, that's like in itself a full-time commitment, full-time job on top of working on yourself. And so, when you're not thinking about money, when you're not thinking about a job, right? Something that you don't want to do, something that was kind of programmed for us to be enslaved to in order to pay other people's bills, to make other people rich and do their work, right? And so when you realize you don't want to do that, so you just take it out of your realm. You just take it out of your realm. And so then once you take it out of your thought process, your mind starts to become more open, because now I'm meditative. Now my vibrations are high. Now I'm creative. Now I'm being inventive. Now I'm being creative, right? And so now my brain is being fired up and stimulated, because it's coming to a place of, okay, think, Linda, what do you want to do, right? We have to come to that place. And I have these conversations all the time with strangers, and they're always like, you know what? I never even thought about that for myself. And now is the time to do that. What do you want for yourself? If you could take out the realm of, you know, having to work a man job or having to pay bills, like if that weren't an option, just say it. Because people are, you know, they always think, you know, about what ifs that would never happen. Well, think about this what if, because it's happening. You know, what if you didn't have to worry about that? What if it is really becoming a reality and you could be minuscule and frugal and downsize, or things are transitioning? And that's what happens when you meditate. You actually have the capacity to become a co-creator, because in the new world that's being created right now, I am part of one of the co-creators. And in order to be a co-creator of that, making reality and dreams into fruition, to reality, that is one of my past life gifts, right? In Lemuria, I've awakened to being a, you know, manifester. And so you have to realize, as you're awakening, you're going to be awakening to old gifts, right? Like my friend now, he goes and takes his bow and arrow, because I told him, I was like, yo, Mike, we resonated in the Mayan times together, bro. Like I told him. And I watched a documentary and I saw a picture and it was his face, like a Mayan version of him. And I was like, Mike. And so like the other day, like we spent time together and he had his bow and arrow. He was going to work and he had his bow and arrow. And I was like, yo, look at that. Like he's starting to awaken, right? So we start to activate each other with memories, with thoughts, with words, with smells, with just things happening, consciousness expanding. We're going to start to awaken and evolve. So we went from this asleep, de-evolved state to now we're going to be this awakened, very aware state, right? So we're going to go through different phases. Well, I mean, I've already been through the phases of awakening, feeling lied, having anger, having angst, and now it's like I'm at peace now, and I've meditated, I'm strategizing, I'm this new person, and so I'm reprogramming myself. So that's why I listen to these positive affirmations, and I recommend that, okay? My friend, he's doing his bow and arrow on lunch, you know, and stuff like that, so he's getting back to basics and getting back to his roots. He's starting to become frugal again, right? Because he was once at that state too, of fear and angst and worry and feeling like he had to pay bills and all these things. And now he's awakening to some of those old roots, and now it's simplifying again, because he remembers, I lived off the land, man. I had bukus of kids with no bills, right? And so that's becoming the reality. So there are other alternatives, and that's how divine we are, is we've come from nothing. We've come from living off the land. And so now when you wake up and you realize this and remember this, and you're in these big, beautiful homes, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my bills. You're going to figure it out. Trust me. You are going to figure it out, because we have been with a lot less and still have the capacity to have so much more than these big homes, right? And so you just have to awaken to these things and remember them. And so one of my things is telling you guys to go within yourself, right? Which is meditating, because anything outside of yourself is going to distract you from your purpose and your mission and awakening, and it's going to take you further away from the truths. So go within yourself by meditation, a lot of reflections, and also listen to positive affirmations. This will help you with your subconscious, reprogramming that. This will help you with your positive thinking, so that if you're like, well, I don't, I'm so used to this. Well, now you have to start new habits, okay? So now it's not just about saying it, you have to actually commit to practicing these things. So go, and I suggest meditate, and then I suggest looking up positive affirmations, which is what I play in the background, or positive affirmations in order, positive affirmations are things that are telling you, I am divine, I am limitless, I am brave, I am courageous. I can do these things. I am a limitless being. I am divine. Because we tell ourselves all the time that we can't do these things, that we're not worthy, that, we beat ourselves down so much. And so the positive affirmations playing in the background throughout the day, you have things that are going on that stimulate you, and they're feeding your soul. They're feeding you in all the ways that you need to, right? For yourself, for self-love, and then for your friends. And so you do those things and play that, and then it starts to reprogram you. It starts to give you new habits. And then before you know it, like in a couple weeks time, I was like saying all these positive things, right? And then you get around your friends and you start to notice the difference. And then if you meditate, you start to get a headache when they start speaking in the old ways that you used to speak. And you're like, wow, I've come a really long way. So you have like a way to gauge yourself and a way to see that physically, visually, right? And like everything else spiritually. So then you can kind of help gauge your friend, right? And help them, and you can see where you've come from. So the more you meditate, the more you're open with your chakras, the quicker subliminals happen, and the quicker the positive affirmations happen for you, the quicker the changes happen. So like I said, the blockages are hindrances. They're things from your childhood, things from past lives, things that, that you haven't forgiven yourself or other people for. Those are deadlocks. Those are weights on you guys. So now is the time to go through the shadows, go through the egos, go through the closets of like things that you haven't forgiven yourself or other people for, and move forward, release and let go. It's the time of clearing. Use this time to not focus on money and work, but focus on really self-healing if you don't know what's next. Work on that, because the quicker you do that, when you start to fire up your old self and all those things that you've been, you're going to remember who you are, and the opportunities, the creations are going to be, firing like pistons in a car, like they're going to be coming, I promise you. Because as soon as like I had my breakthrough from my breakdown, I started to be creative. Like I started my YouTube channel, now I'm doing my podcast, and you're going to have these things, right? And so you're just going through, if you're having struggles right now, you're going through, it's like 9/11 where the dust settled, right? It happened and freaked everybody out, and everybody's like, oh, chaos. Then the dust settled. But now you're coming to a time of awakening, and you're like, okay, now making it through the rubbish, right? You're like, okay, now what? What's next? Okay. And so that's what it's going to be. But it's going to be even better than that, because you're going to awaken and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I remember I can do this. I can do this. These are my talents. Like me waking up saying like, oh my gosh, I'm a manifester. Law of attraction. They've been doing this on the videos where people are trying to manifest, right? I am a master of that. I already awakened to that. Like, so that's what I've been doing on my journey, is slowly awakening to this truth of myself. And so, and now I'm putting it into action, and I'm walking the walk, and I'm being able to model and exhibit this for people, right? In my nothingness, which is why a lot of people going through their awakenings right now of like, and fear of having to pay bills and things like that. They're looking at me like, I don't even understand, Linda, how you be on the streets going through what you go through, like in the cold, and like, because I'm supposed to be that example for you guys, because I know where it has been. I know where we have been. I know where civilization has been and how advanced it was, and that time that I was there contributing to that. And now I know where we are, right, with all the disease now and this asleepness and the de-evolution and all these things. And now I'm awakening to, wow, where it's been, where it is now. I'm so excited for what's coming, because when you know that what it was about to come back, and you're like, oh my God, that civilization was the boom. Right? Because it was so advanced. You were so free, and you were able to contribute if you did all these loving things, kindness, like all the things that we speak about. It's like, oh, it's never going to happen. It was before, and now it's happening. It's presenting an opportunity to happen. That's why the light is winning. The only time the darkness feels like it's winning instead of cooperating with us right now is if you're allowing it to feel that way for you. So you have to reprogram your mind. You have to start thinking positive things and listening to positive affirmations. Go on YouTube. I do it all the time. I fall asleep to positive affirmations and let it loop, because that's the quickest way to allow something to hit your subconscious, is going to sleep to it, right? It's like a baby with a lullaby. And then the baby grows up, and what does it do? Pass on those lullabies to the baby. Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop, because you were putting the baby to the sleep, and it was hitting the subconscious. So go do those things, okay? Meditate, go within. Anything outside of yourself, make sure that it's hitting within yourself, right? Okay, so like don't go worry about no materials, because if you buy materials, that's not going to get within yourself. The affirmations outside of yourself, like I suggested, guess what? When you play it in the background, what is it doing outside of yourself? It's hitting your subconscious when it's playing in the background. So if you're going to hit something outside of yourself these days, make sure it's hitting within, it's doing some service for your core. And so I just wanted to get on here and share these important things. And if you're one of my friends, brothers, sisters, family members that's incarcerated at this time, utilize this time to meditate, because I can't even tell you guys, like, we're already enslaved in the system. That's why we had to incarnate, right, in order to change it within. So an example of doing that is doing it within yourself first, and then it changes around you like drastically and quickly. It's like almost effortlessly when you have aligned yourself, right? So you can't change the world around you until you change yourself. And so if you're incarcerated, I just really, because when I was locked up for the time that I was, I saw the difference it made in me versus the females that were coming in, the old versions of myself, right? They were reflections of me. They were there with me. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't any better than them. They were the older versions of myself. And then I saw myself on the bed meditating, saging myself. And then them coming in like stir crazy, couldn't sit still, wasn't getting any reprieve, didn't know when they were getting out, just couldn't sit still, was in pain, stress, worry, angst, blocked. You know what I'm saying? And here I was seeing the new me, seeing who I was, and then trying to help them transition, and then, meditating with them or meditating around them to put those vibrations around them to help the old me, right? And so it did help a lot of them, because I keep in touch with them on Facebook still, and I see some of them aren't meditating, but they're transitioning into new habits. So those that like take the advice and see that I'm walking what I talk, and then there's still more to it than just talk, right? You have to think, speak, do. Do is the most important. Taking action. If you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, you can think things. Thought is great, but that thought has to trigger something. So the thought comes from the action of doing something. To think is an action too, but in order to manifest, right, in your nothingness, it still takes action. So that means even if I sit and meditate, I am now aligning my realities. I'm now starting to release the befuddlement and the negativity and the delusions, right? And align my realities so that I'm awakening to my true self and tapping into that, right? Not what society has told us it has to be. So I just suggest to my friends that are locked up, use that time to meditate. Because when you come back out on the streets, be a new you. Don't come out here thinking, because think about it. Like I said, I took needing a man job, needing money out of my realm system. And guess what? You're in a place where you can actually think like that, because you don't have to worry about a man job. You don't have to worry about bills. So now you guys are already one step closer with the process that I already started, a year ago. A couple years ago, right? Actually, a few years ago. So if a lot of y'all have already been incarcerated for a few years, stay on that mentality. You don't need a man job. You don't need money. Meditate. Find out who you are. Tap into that, right? And when you come back out on these streets and hit this ground running, make sure it's for spirituality and being of service to people, because even in the Bible, it says the meek will inherit the earth, right? So work on your rage. If you have a lot of rage in there, make sure you're not fighting people. Maybe make sure you're not feeding that animalistic vibration, right? That we have fooled ourselves into thinking that we have to go in there and fight for our lives. No, you don't have to. It's the energy that you put out, okay? So if you have a really alpha vibration, essence, being, utilize that to your benefit of taking the leadership and the role of showing that you're more of an alpha male if you can control yourself. Self-mastery is a man in charge. To lose control means you have no control over yourself, which means you can't help contribute or guide or lead another person, because you can't even lead yourself to have self-control, to not fight, to not do those things, to not say that, to not think that way. So you're not going to be able to lead or co-create with anybody until you can self-master yourself. And so in order to do that is a time to really have respect for yourself. That's why you're in there, is because you have a higher mission. You have a higher cause than we have remembered, right? And now I'm remembering this. So now you must remember this. You are in there for a reason. You're not in there because you're a criminal. You're not in there because you're a bad person. You're in there because it's time for change. It's time to change this system. And so just like we had to incarnate, and that was part of our mission, is falling asleep in this matrix in order to awaken. And remember, we had to get back into there in order to change it from within. So while you're in there changing the system inside, right? Quiet human revolution, you're changing yourself within, not looking like an animal or heathen, but expecting to be taught something, right? In that system is supposed to serve us. So you have to be a self-mastered being in there, awakened to this cause, to show them, what are you going to teach me? If I come here because I broke some law, well, how did this law serve the whole, right? How is this law serving me? What are you going to teach me? So when I get out, I've learned something, and I'm not going to have to go back out there and be subjected to come back because you want to meet some quota, or you want money out of me, or right? Because that's not in your realm. If I'm in your system, what are you going to teach me? If you're forcing me to work these jobs, you're forcing me to pay these bills, forcing me to do these things, because on the grand scheme of things, I'm sovereign. I am sovereign and free. I can live off these lands for nothing, right? So if you want me in your system, since you have locked me up because I broke your rules of not wanting to live this way, what are you going to teach me? How are you being of service to me? Because other than that, we don't need to be told what to do. We don't need these rules and regulations, and we don't need these fines. We don't need this imprisonment. We don't need to feel like criminals. We don't, right? When you have a child and you discipline that child because you want them to learn, you don't expect your child, or you're not, I hope parents aren't intending for your child to come back and get in trouble. Like when I speak to my son, I don't hope or want or expect him to come back for me to speak to him about this again. You know what I mean? That means you are not succeeding in teaching him, right? You are not succeeding in giving him the tools and the abilities and the awareness and the awakening and the love that he needs, right? And that's what a system is supposed to do for those that are orphans. The system is supposed to be the parents to those that are orphaned, for those that need discipline, that need structure. So these are the things that we are requiring from the service. And you guys have to remember that while you're in there and awakening, okay? Family, friends, loved ones, while you're away, use this time to meditate and remember those things, that even though you're in there, you're not a prisoner. You were put there and agreed to be there at a higher level in order to learn and condition and to help free us all in our own little way. Okay, so awaken to this, and I love you guys. Meditate, 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 and listen to positive affirmations if you have devices and you're able to, while you're sleeping, or in the background while you're writing letters or working out, stuff like that, instead of music, because music is temporary. Positive affirmations, things, subliminals that are speaking to you at a soul level will reach you to your core and stick. And so that way, when no music's playing, when there's nothing being said, your soul is still resonating in a high positive, filling your essence kind of way, okay, to the cellular level. So I love you guys, and I'm gonna cut it here. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Spread the love. Namya Haringeya, Namya Haringeya, Namya Haringeya. Ciao.